Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Hakeem, your Survive You Dean, back with another one. And today we are talking about this idea of growing artificial humans in tubes. And so that may sound far-fetched. We've seen it in movies before. We've seen it in movies like Maze Runner. We've seen it in The Matrix, where actual machines were growing babies in these kind of test tubes or in these tubes so that they could use the human beings as batteries to power their system. They would take the electric energy that we created in our bodies and they would use that to power themselves. And in the movies, it's just all fun and dandy, but then you start thinking about where we are now. Is that just movie magic? Is that just Hollywood? Or is this real? Check this out.
Introducing Ectolife, the world's first artificial womb facility, powered entirely by renewable energy. Ectolife allows infertile couple to conceive a baby and become the true biological parents of their own offspring. It's a perfect solution for women who had their uterus surgically removed due to cancer or other complications. With Ectolife, premature births and C-sections will be a thing of the past. Ectolife is designed to help countries that are suffering from severe population decline, including Japan, Bulgaria, South Korea, and many others. The facility features 75 highly equipped labs. Each state-of-the-art lab can accommodate up to 400 growth pods or artificial wombs. Every pod is designed to replicate the exact conditions that exist inside the mother's uterus. A single building can incubate up to 30,000 lab-grown babies per year. Ectolife allows your baby to develop in an infection-free environment. The pods are made of materials that prevent germs from sticking to their surfaces. Every growth pod features sensors that can monitor your baby's vital signs, including heartbeat, temperature, blood pressure, breathing rate, and oxygen saturation. The artificial intelligence-based system also monitors the physical features of your baby and reports any potential genetic abnormalities. The pods are equipped with a screen that displays real-time data on the developmental progress of your baby. These data are sent directly to your phone so you can track your baby's health from the comfort of your zone. The app also provides you with a high-resolution live view of your baby's development. A special section in the app allows you to watch a time-lapse of your baby's growth and share it directly with your loved ones. Because babies can recognize language and learn new words while still in the womb, Ectolife growth pods feature internal speakers that play a wide range of words and music to your baby. Through the app, you can choose the playlist that your baby listens to. You can also directly sing to your baby and make them familiar with your voice before birth. Our goal is to provide you with an intelligent offspring that truly reflects your smart choices. Ectolife improves your bonding experience with your baby. Thanks to a 360 degrees camera that's fitted inside your baby's growth pod, you can use your virtual reality headset to explore what it's like to be in your baby's place. See what they see and hear what they hear. Using a wireless haptic suit connected to your baby's growth pod, you will be able to sense their kicks in the womb and share this experience with your friends and family members. With Ectolife, your baby will receive the best nutrients that can support their growth. Each group of pods is connected to 2 central bioreactors. The first bioreactor contains nutrients and oxygen, which are supplied to your baby through an artificial umbilical cord. This bioreactor also contains a liquid solution that serves as the amniotic fluid that surrounds babies in the mother's uterus. It's rich of vital hormones, growth factors, and antibodies that sustain your baby's growth and development. Thanks to a system controlled by artificial intelligence, each baby receives custom nutrients tailored to their needs. The second bioreactor is designed to eliminate any waste products produced by the babies. The artificial umbilical cord helps the babies to release their waste products into the second bioreactor. With the help of a delicate layer of engineered enzymes, the second bioreactor can then recycle waste products and turn them back into useful nutrients. This way, the facility ensures a steady and sustainable supply of fresh nutrients to your baby. With Ectolife, miscarriage and low sperm count are a thing of the past. Prior to placing the fertilized embryo of your baby inside the growth pod, in vitro fertilization is used to create and select the most viable and genetically superior embryo, giving your baby a chance to develop without any biological hurdles. And if you want your baby to stand out and have a brighter future, our Elite Package offers you the opportunity to genetically engineer the embryo before implanting it into the artificial womb. Thanks to CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing tool, you can edit any trait of your baby through a wide range of over 300 genes. By genetically engineering a set of genes, the Elite Package allows you to customize your baby's eye color, hair color, skin tone, physical strength, height, and level of intelligence. It also allows you to fix any inherited genetic diseases that are part of your family history so that your baby and their offspring will live a healthy, comfortable life free of genetic diseases.
So you watch that advertisement, and if you're like me, you're like, whoa, this is crazy. This is far out stuff. This is off the cuff. We'll never see anything like this in our world. That was just some video that people put together as where we could be in the future. I'm going to be long gone before that happens. I'll never see that. But that's not true. The reality is that we are on the cusp of all of this technology. This technology is being actively pursued, even though you have certain governments and legislation trying to be pushed to not make it so. There's so few of us who are actually paying attention that we're not actually out there calling for a stop to this type of technology. And then also there are people who are actually praising this technology. Again, there's always this kind of balance, this good and this bad. If you have a family that really wants to have a child, and they cannot do it for multiple reasons. Maybe the female had had a hysterectomy, so now she cannot have children. Maybe there was some other type of medical condition that stops the family from having children. Maybe the child is born too early. All these things will be ways that we can save that child, or we can also help that family have babies. So who's to say like that's a bad thing, you know? So some people will look at that and say, oh, this is great. Now we can have children. We can, those people who could not have children can have children. But how far do we go? How far do we go? In this particular video, this Ectolife, they're talking about being able to change your child's hair color, your child's eye color, how strong your child is, how fast your child is, your child's intelligence, all these things that were natural progressions of life. You either came out one way with these color eyes and things of that nature. We had no control of it. It was an act of God. And now we are playing gods in which we're going in and we're altering these things, and we're taking the natural nature of it out, of the equation. Now you can just manipulate whatever. So, I mean, does anyone not want a strong child? Does anyone not want a fast child? Does anyone not want an intelligent child? So everybody's choosing the same thing. There's no differences. There's no versatility. There's no, there's no change in our environment. Everybody's just the same. We're like walking drones. And that's really scary if you start thinking about how that plays out in the long run and what that means for a society that's based on everyone choosing their children like video game avatars, right? We're in like roadblocks of real life we're just saying, oh, I want this color hair for my child, and I want my child to be able to do this and just hold their breath underwater for this amount of time. And I was a really good dancer, but I can make my child a superb dancer. I mean, this is mind blowing. This is mind blowing. So we really have to think about that. But maybe I don't have some of you guys convinced. Maybe you're still thinking, well, Hakeem, yeah, that Ectolife video was kind of scary, but still way off, way off. We don't have that technology to do that type of stuff nowadays. And let's start slow. Let's say, well, what about premature babies? What about babies who are born early? How do we keep them alive? Right now, we put them in kind of like an incubation chamber, and we're trying to help nourish them and grow them so that they can be healthy and strong. But there's still limits to the technology we have. But what if we could make an artificial womb? Check this video out.
Breathing, swallowing premature baby lamb inside a bag filled with fluid. It's called an artificial womb and is meant to mimic the real thing, a mother's uterus. Canadian researcher Dr. Emily Partridge helped create the so-called biobag with a team of scientists in Philadelphia. The tests are on lambs, but the goal is meant to eventually help human babies.
Right now, what happens if you're born at 23 weeks, the analogy that we use is you're sort of like a fish on dry land. You're really not ready to be out of a fluid environment, and we sort of have to do our best to try to compensate for those physiologic insults.
About half of premature babies, those born at 23 weeks, don't survive. And those who do survive, the majority, suffer lifelong illnesses and serious disabilities. Many with underdeveloped lungs need to be placed on ventilators attached to incubators. The artificial womb is meant to provide a safer environment by trying to bridge the gap for the babies who are born too early.
This is a much more protective and really a much more physiologic environment for the fetus. This is really how they were meant to reside.
In this research, the lambs tested were equivalent in age to a 23-week human fetus. They were taken from their mothers via C-sections and placed in transparent bags filled with a liquid substitute for amniotic fluid. The lamb's umbilical cord is attached to a machine that doubles as a placenta, which exchanges carbon dioxide in the blood with oxygen. No ventilator is needed since the lamb's heart does all the pumping. Researchers say some of the lambs remained healthy in their liquid bag for over a 4-week period, breathing normally, opening their eyes. Some even grew wool. The lambs were later euthanized so they could be studied.
We've been pretty astounded at how normally the lungs have grown and matured. Over 4 weeks in the artificial womb, we're turning out lambs that essentially look indistinguishable from lambs that have been born normally.
But let's be cautious, says this Toronto neonatal doctor.
It's a very innovative idea, and I think it has merit to be tested, but we need to go step by step into the human experimentation.
Researchers hope to begin clinical trials on human babies in the next 3 to 5 years. Then down the road, neonatal units could come equipped with these incubators of the future. Not much different than what's there now, say researchers, except a baby will be placed inside a biobag.
So, did that answer your question? We can make artificial wombs. We are making artificial wombs, right? And we are able to grow, in this particular case, a sheep and keep it alive. They said the sheep's eyes were opening, it was breathing, it was looking around, all that type of stuff. And it's in this kind of bag sack. And that technology is being pursued. And since our technology is moving at a faster rate than it ever has, we can expect that type of stuff to start coming out fairly soon, probably in the next 10 years, or sooner, right? As people continue to move towards this idea. And so, well, the good side of that, again, if you have a baby who's born premature, the chances of them dying now are going to be slimmer as we start to get better at this technology. But this is a stepping stone. This technology is a stepping stone to just growing a baby, not even using the mother's womb anymore. All right. And now we have a different type of question. We have a question of a human being being grown outside of a human being, and all of the different aspects of that mother-child connection, that mother-father-child connection is kind of taken out of the equation. And this ecto-life idea, they have like virtual reality headsets where you're able to talk to your child and things of that nature. But there's still that missing connection of the human to human contact. And we don't know how that's going to play out. I'm sure they're out there studying it, but we don't know how it's going to play out. So let's continue on this path and let's say, well, I did mention in a video mentioned, well, being able to choose your child's eye color, being able to choose hair color, being able to basically mess with their genetics and their DNA. And what about that technology? That's only in the movies. That doesn't really exist in real life, does it? Check it out. It does.
Little Chinese girl.
This is the doctor who changed the future of the human race and let the world know on YouTube. He Jiankuai stunned the scientific community with the claim he pushed the boundary no one else had.
A line has been crossed that should not have been crossed.
It's very disturbing. It's inappropriate.
Oh, this is huge.
He says he genetically edited human embryos, not just for research but for implantation, leading to the world's first births of genetically altered humans, baby girls born in China from embryos designed to be resistant to HIV.
For this specific case, I feel proud actually.
The tool used by He, called CRISPR, is found in labs around the world.
It gives us the precise way of cutting the gene or putting a new piece of gene in.
It's often used by researchers trying to treat incurable diseases.
The method itself is very easy. You can use it, everybody can use it now.
Leaders in the field of gene editing have collectively agreed it's too early to implant edited embryos in humans because of the risks, the unknowns, and the ethical questions about altering humankind.
We're at a hinge of human history.
William Hurlbut is a leading American bioethicist who teaches at Stanford University. In the months before the news broke, Dr. He consulted with him.
Every time we met together, we would talk about the seriousness of the issues and in a sort of stepwise way what you had to do to make sure that it was done right. But when I heard that there were live-born children from it, I thought, oh my gosh, he just jumped ahead.
Hurlbut knew nothing of the plans to implant edited human embryos. Dr. He studied at Stanford as a postdoctoral fellow where he worked with leading researchers. Hurlbut describes him as smart but perhaps too trusting of his own wisdom.
He's young, he's inexperienced, and he's from a small rural community in China.
He's research has been shut down by Chinese authorities. It's also raised questions about whether there will be a rash of new regulations to stymie scientific development, or if scientists can regulate themselves.
We all want to be first, right? I mean, this is where you really feel that you're making a huge difference and you're getting recognition. But I think in this particular case, the outcry from the community is so huge that I think it will slow things down.
He's work has already stoked fears about the future, what it could look like, how soon it could come, whether it includes designer babies, and if a tool found in labs around the world could one day make them.
So I always like in these videos where, you have these people and they're exploring these things and they go down these rabbit holes. And in this particular case, this guy in China was like, I'm a scientist, I'm going to figure it out on my own. And you actually hear one of the U.S. national advisors for our science, or the head of our science committee or group. And he was saying, well, scientists like to be first and they like to explore, but, you got to have boundaries. You gotta have things that you go through a deliberation process with multiple people to see if this is gonna be right. And this young Chinese guy was like, nope, I'm gonna make this thing happen. And actually birthed 2 female children that he genetically altered. And supposedly it was without without the permission of the actual people in charge. And so in China. And so they said that they stopped that individual from moving forward, and now it's not happening. And I don't know, let's play conspiracy theory. Let's just say, you're in power and you have a person who has now been able to genetically alter children and bring them into this world. And you're some sort of military power. And you're saying to yourself, okay, well, he did it without our consent. So now we have other governments looking at us. So let's say we shut that person down, put him in the basement in some secret lab, and have him continue on his research, because this could mean great things for us. We can create a workforce that looks just like how we want them to look and works just like how we want them to work. We could create some of the most efficient and powerful soldiers, and we could build like one of the most amazing armies that we ever had. I mean, just because in the public, these politicians go on stage and they say, oh, no, we're not doing this anymore, doesn't mean that that's not happening in some secret lab somewhere. And we have to keep that in mind too. Again, I don't know this for sure. I'm just some guy talking in my room telling you what's up. But it could be that they really did shut that guy down. Let's look at it like that. My point being is that Ectolife said you can change hair color, you can mess with the genetics. Now we have a guy who's actually doing that, and who actually brought children into the world. You may not even remember, but several years ago, we actually successfully cloned a sheep. So now we're looking at Star Wars, Clone Wars, right? So we are actually cloning people. You can clone people, add all of the best features, grow them in some sort of incubation chamber or some sort of artificial womb, give birth to them, and now have them be the army, have them be the workforce that you want them to be. Do you see the implications of how bad this can go really fast? It can turn from a good, where we're giving people an opportunity to give birth and have children who really want it, to going really bad really fast, because there's so many different, for the powers that be, there's so many different avenues in which this could be used to their benefit. We start building secret workers who are in factories doing stuff and building stuff, and we don't have to worry about workers' compensation, and we don't have to worry about their families. We create secret soldiers who are able to go out there on the battlefield. They're the best and the fastest, and they only have one focus, which is to do the mission, create the mission. They don't have any connection to anyone at home, because they were raised in a lab, and they were designed to be this way. So we just keep gaming this out. I mean, we watched these movies as children and we said this would never happen. This is just entertainment, but now we're living it. And those movies warned us about the good and the bad of these different technologies. And here we are. So now you may be saying to yourself, well, Hakeem, we're overpopulated. We don't have enough resources on this planet for everybody. So we can't have artificial babies just popping up and going out there. And that seems to be the narrative, is that we are overpopulated and that there's not enough space and so on and so forth. But there's another narrative going around that says that we actually are not overpopulated like we think. And actually the population is going to start dropping here soon, because people are not having as many babies as they used to. China went through a time where they were like, hey, you can only have one child, and then everybody was trying to have a son, and they were like, throwing, female children at the wayside. And then they started realizing there was a population decline. So they started saying, okay, now you can have 2 children. And they saw that it still wasn't raising when they were running the numbers. So they said, now you can have any amount of children, and we'll actually pay you. We'll actually give you money to have children. Elon Musk has been warning about this for a long time now. And you watch people like himself and maybe like a Nick Cannon out there. They're having multiple children by multiple women. So they're trying to put as many children in the world as possible, because by at least Elon Musk, he's trying to live, what he's talking about. And he's like, none of this matters if we don't have enough children. All this futuristic stuff doesn't matter. So now we have this technology that we don't even have to have children by mother to father, man and woman. We could have children through just machines, and we could just pump those out. We can pump out the workforce, right? There's some talk about in the next few years, we're going to have less people in the workforce to be able to afford the elderly who are now on Social Security. So right now we have 3 people to every 1 person who's elder. But as people start living longer, because we have all these advancements in technology, we're going to have more of those elderly people out there living. And in some places like Japan, they even have robots aiding with keeping the elderly active and helping them stay mentally active and physically active, because they don't have enough people to really help all of the elderly. So as that technology, as we talked about robots before in one of our other videos, and we're going to talk about that again, we're going to see how that plays into helping and integrating into the society as well. But let's just step back for a moment and let's just see what other people are saying about this idea of underpopulation and what that looks like for us in the future, right? Check this out.
There are not enough people. I can't emphasize this enough. There are not enough people. If people don't have more children, civilization is going to crumble. Mark my words.
That's the polar opposite of headlines over the years that have warned there are too many people. Stanford biologist Paul Ehrlich wrote in his 1968 best-selling book, The Population Bomb, in the 1970s, hundreds of millions of people will starve to death due to overpopulation, which didn't happen. At that time, the world's population was growing quickly, increasing by 2.1% a year on average. However, it has since slowed down, falling by half, to the point where the United Nations predicts the world's population is expected to virtually stop growing by the end of the century, reaching 10.9 billion people by 2100. Even that estimate is too high for some. Musk has called it utter nonsense in only the best-case scenario. Norwegian academic Jørgen Randers believes the population will peak at 8 billion in 2040 and decline from there. The fall in population growth is largely due to falling fertility rates. In the year 1800, the average American woman had 7 kids. By 1900, that dropped to 3.5. Today, it's 1.64 children. That's below the replacement rate of 2.1, the level at which births balance deaths, meaning not enough babies are born for a generation to replace itself. People in richer countries tend to have fewer kids. Urbanization has reduced the need for children to work on farms. There's greater access to contraception, and more women are establishing careers before starting a family. However, the birth rate is even low for some middle-income countries like Brazil, Thailand, and Chile. Even populous India has dropped below the replacement level to 2.0, and in cities, it's even less. In fact, the only region with strong population growth is Africa. So what will a low birth rate mean? Fewer people make and consume less stuff. There will be fewer new homes and schools, less demand for services such as restaurants and shops. Your standard of living could be impacted as facilities are cut back. Mass transit depends on high demand. Fewer people on buses and in subways will mean less money to maintain the infrastructure, which could translate into longer wait times and fewer routes. Military strength could decline. As demographer Lyman Stone once said, you need warm bodies to fill the uniforms. Some observers predict dire consequences. Jonathan Last, author of What to Expect When No One's Expecting, warns if people in authoritarian societies have more children than citizens of liberal democracies, over the long haul, those people inherit the earth, leading to chaos and instability.
At the same time that fertility rates are falling, we're living longer. Older people are making up a bigger portion of the population.
Nearly all areas of the world are experiencing aging, shown in dark blue. A small number of workers will be left to support many retirees. This is an extreme example of what that could look like. It resembles an inverted pyramid, where there are too few working-age people supporting too many elderly. This wild imbalance could cause governments to raise taxes to cover the burden of caring for seniors. In 2019, there were 3 working-age people for every elderly person in Europe and North America. By 2050, that's projected to fall below 2, and in some countries, it already has. Japan is grappling with the labor shortage by having robots care for the elderly in some nursing homes. To entice more people to have kids, the Japanese government pays parents 100,000 yen, or $876 per baby.
Do it for Denmark.
A tongue-in-cheek campaign by a Danish travel agency in 2014 urged people to go on more vacation to get knocked up, as stats show Danes had more sex on holidays.
So there you have it. We are in a state of underpopulation, or we're moving in that direction. There's also talk out there about men not being as fertile as they used to. You know, there's connections to the chemicals in our plastics. There's connections to all of the chemicals that we're putting on our body that are unnatural, that are hindering our ability to stay fertile and to be able to have children. So again, all these things could be good things. Hey, you know, I want to have a child. You know, I'm infertile. The woman's infertile. We can have a child through this kind of, you know, artificial womb, and great, thumbs up. My family's happy and we're able to do that. But again, that's the positive side. What about the negative side? So I want to talk to you about that. Again, at Survive University, we're talking about looking at patterns that could hinder and hurt our survival in the short term, patterns that can hinder and hurt our survival in the long term, and what's happening out there in the world, and keeping you informed as an individual so you can make choices to improve your life. Because the goal is not just to get ready, it's to be ready, and it's to stay ready. I'm Hakeem, your Survive University Dean, and until next time, everyone, in the meantime, please like and subscribe and share what you see here today so that we can get the word out and inform the society, so that we can continue to make informed decisions and be the best that we can be as a community and as a society. Until next time.